Welcome, everybody, back here at Veil of Sound. And I am very, very happy to have somebody on the show who will challenge a lot of people's notions about music, identity, fun, which I think is a very important one. So I'm very, very happy to have Kalyn Heffernan from Wheelchair Sports Camp here on the show. Kalyn, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Kalyn, we always start with a plug of a day, so I'll give you a moment to think about a band record project that you would like to push. I have one that I think deserves much more attention, and that's the band of my friend Natasha Gray, the Iron Roses,
Okay.
from out of the tri-state area. I know it's musically different to yours because Iron Roses make a sort of politically infused queer ska.
Cool.
But I think there's also a good reason to listen to that band. Kalyn, who would you like to plug?
Yeah, well, since we're plugging our friends, I gotta shout out my friend in town. She goes by Machete Mouth, and she's a killer, literally. She's just so dope, and she's based here in Denver, Colorado, and I got to help on her last record, which is on a 7 inch. But her new record is coming. They just dropped a new single and it's fire. And she just puts on a hell of a show. So shouts to
Uh,
Machete Mouth.
and musically, hip hop?
No, she's pretty all over the place, honestly. She can do it all, which is frustrating. I've never heard her rap, but I'm sure she could. But she does like blues. She could do punk. She's a killer songwriter. She has a really unique taste for being really minimal, but like super deep and heavy and like yeah, she's got it all. Musically, she's just the whole package.
Kalyn, the icebreaker that I always like to come up with made it pretty easy for me. When you talk about Mama K, is she more of a Mama Bates or a Mama Walt?
a mama what?
Walton, like the Waltons, the Little House
Oh,
on the Prairie. You know?
mm,
Is she more a psycho mom or more like the loving, caring mom?
uh, she's more the psycho mom, but she is very loving and caring.
For everybody who has not listened to the new record, Oh Imperfecta, I ask that because a lot of skits on the record are conversations between you and your mom, right?
Thanks for catching that. I still haven't told her. She's gonna kill. She's
Well,
gonna
2 weeks
kill
away
me.
from release.
She's gonna kill me.
Yeah, fits to the psycho one.
Yeah.
Uh, when listening to the record, something immediately pops up, and that is the musical eclecticism behind it. We have some very dreamy songs like Yes, I'm a Mess, but we also have like jazzy tunes like Keep Scrolling. And then there are also some really angry ones like Make Sense. But one thing remains clear, and we might even question that. Wheelchair Sports Camp at its core is a hip hop outfit, right?
Yeah, I've been a rapper forever.
And does it come easy for you to make the songs sound so hugely different, or does that take a lot of time?
Good question. The album itself has taken a lot of time, and finishing the album is really like the concept of the album of letting go of my perfectionism. And as a rapper, um, and with hip hop, it's like you can't be a good rapper unless you think you're better than every rapper. unless you think you're the best.
You
And
gotta have the bigger balls.
that's just, yeah. And so, like, everything I do, especially being tiny, white, queer, in a wheelchair, all these others, I really have to have the biggest balls, which means like I've had to have the best videos and the best rhymes and the best punchlines and the best production. And what happens is it ends up taking so freaking long, right? So, like the song Denim, I mean, that song was like 8 years in the making, from like the concept to the costumes to the video to the engineering on that. Like I had some of the best women engineers on the record. And my drummer is more from the punk world, Greggy, and him and I butt heads a lot on like he's the guy that's like, it's good enough, let it go. And I'm the one that's like, it must be nice to always just feel good enough, but being the other, right? Like it has to be better. It has to be better. And I realize like I am overcompensating for, I've all my disability, my disease is called osteogenesis imperfecta. So I am deemed genetically imperfect. Like no wonder I'm a perfectionist, you know? So yeah, it was like to finish the record, there those are like where the punk songs start coming in, and Eat Meat specifically was like I hadn't played drums since middle school, and I jumped on the drums, and my drummer grabbed a dusty guitar. Neither of us play these instruments. And typically I write like verse, chorus, and it'll take me a long time versus like that song we made in like an hour. And, that just kind of clicked of like, oh, we're on to something, we're having fun. It feels good enough for the first time ever. Um, and yeah,
Wait, so the first take or the first version already felt good enough?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, we didn't record it on the spot, but like we knew. We did. We recorded like a video of us doing it in rehearsal, and then we did it live a couple times, and it was like, oh yeah, we're on to something, And then, yeah. So finishing the album was actually more easy than I made it out to be. The rest of the album, like songs like Hold On Hold, or yeah, that song in particular took a really long time to finish. It wasn't until the very end that Junia T from Toronto, I was like, something's still missing, like it's just not there. And once he added, it was like, okay, cool, now it's done. But yeah, so it's really a collage of sounds, and it was really fun for me to explore these different genres because I've been a rapper since I was like 5 years old. And as you know, like it's already full of a lot of competitiveness and machismo, and it was like, cool, I'm letting go, I'm having fun, I'm not obsessing on being like the best rapper. It was like I was obsessing on finishing, and I was obsessing on like having fun and kind of experimenting and doing something different. So yeah, that was a long answer for
No, don't worry, don't worry. I'm like, what to expect from a rapper, right?
there we go.
But let me get back to the disease that you've mentioned. I hope I will not try to pronounce the scientific name for it. But is it something like brittle bones?
It is, yeah.
So is the disease in a way a certain kind of drive for you, a motivation?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Indirectly, maybe?
yeah, actually directly. My band name is Wheelchair Sports Camp. I've never been able to hide my disability. I've always had to wear it like very loud and proud. And once I kind of learned, and pretty early on as a kid, like I always had the attention on me. Like I can't go into a restaurant without everybody stopping.
Yeah.
And early on, I was like, okay, I'm going to give them something to stare at. You know, I dyed my hair blue when I was 9. I started rapping when I was 5. You know, like I grew up as you hear with my mother, like I grew up in a very loud and chaotic and outward environment. And so back to realizing I've been overcompensating, it's like I've always felt like I had to make my presence bold and big, or else like the attention that's going to come at me regardless is going to be not on my terms. You know, it's like as a kid, I was in the newspaper. Look at this kid overcoming adversity. Oh, she's such an inspiration. And it was like,
Do you see
cool.
yourself as that?
Huh?
Do you see yourself as that, as an inspiration to others?
It's not my favorite word just because I generally get seen as an inspiration just for existing, just for getting out of bed. But
You even
put
say so yourself.
Yeah, but putting myself on a stage and having a platform, like I can't not be an inspiration. You know what I mean? Like I'm putting myself in this situation that I hope does inspire people to not just exist, you know, and not just like do regular things, but I hope to inspire folks to be bold and to be loud and to tell their own story, right? Like to not let society kind of put you in this box that I've always been put in, but I knew I had to redirect the attention. You know, it's like, oh, you like hip hop? Here's a record. Oh, you're staring at me? Come to the show. You know?
Mhm. I hope you don't mind me asking, but wouldn't you be even happier if society arrived at a point where you would not be seen as a motivational figure, as an identification person, but just as you, as Kalyn?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Um, but but and you know, I don't think I'd be. I do feel like I chose my body. I do feel like I chose my situation, and I do think if I was regular, degular, tall, normal, one, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Growing up the
Because you
way
get away with stuff?
no, I think I get away with. I know I get away with way more being in my body.
Okay.
Um, but I'd likely be a lot more violent and a lot more druggy. You know,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
based on my genetics. So so yeah, I do think I've always used my disability to my advantage. You know, and I think I'd be a lot less interesting if I was.
Well, I think that is debatable. By the way, and now I want to dig into some of the tracks. Do you know that you indirectly quote Eminem and Kurt Cobain in the same song?
No.
Yeah, because you basically use the word, may I have your undivided attention?
Oh,
What does he say in the Slim Shady?
oh.
What is it? Could I have your undivided attention, please? And then
He
in the
says
same
the
track, a
same
little,
thing. Holy shit, I did
and
not.
in a few lines later, you say like my libido, which is of course indirectly an unintentional quote from Smells Like Teen Spirit. But
Wow.
uh, I
Wow.
already I already imagined that this is not an intentional thing. However,
Good
are
get.
there people, musicians, rappers, producers, whatever, that you look up to and where you say like, okay, those are really inspirations to me?
Sure, yeah. I mean, in middle school, I was a huge Eminem fan.
Yeah, who wasn't, right? I mean, like,
But
let's be honest. 20,
yeah.
20, 25 years ago, we all were, weren't we?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I have tried to follow him, and it's really painful to listen to. Um,
Because you mean the
2000.
last record was not his best?
Whoa. Like, every punchline is like, midget, 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 I hate Christopher Reeves. And I'm like, dude, this is so irrelevant.
Yeah, in
Uh,
a way, right? Yeah.
Mind you, I met him when I was younger and he did not want to kick me or throw me or be a dickhead. He was actually very nice to me. So, he's a liar. He doesn't hate us as much as he says. But yeah, I mean, he undoubtedly has a big effect on me. And I would say that like my biggest inspiration, what got me into rapping was TLC. Left Eye was my first ultimate dream rapper, and those women I looked up to so highly, of like being sexy but still being tomboy and still being empowering. And then it moved on to like Salt and Pepper and Missy Elliott, which, I think that's another part of my perfectionism and like taking a long time to make music videos. Up until recently, I've been trying to make Missy Elliott videos on a no budget,
Difficult to do.
pivotal inspiration, and Outcast, Bahamadia, like, yeah, I definitely was such a hip hop kid, and adult. Like, it wasn't until I went to college that I kind of started like venturing out um of my genre, and now I'm like, here I am on a legendary punk label that I didn't grow up listening to and didn't grow up idolizing. So it's been a funny world.
It's interesting that you already give me the chance to get to one of the other things. I mean, like you've already said, you are now releasing through Alternative Tentacles, which is surely a label that some people might argue about, also about Jello, but one cannot deny the impact that he had on punk as a musician and on the punk scene afterwards. Um, First things first, how did that happen? How did you end up on Alternative Tentacles, out of all our labels?
Yeah, well, I had a couple connections to Jello for a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
Jello is from Boulder, Colorado. So he's
Canada.
actually, most people know him from San Francisco, but
Mm-hmm.
my best bud, who's on Make It Make Sense Radio Pete, named Dead Kennedys, gave Jello the name Dead Kennedys when Jello was a teenager. Um, so I had that connection. I hang out with Mark Bleasner of Radio Pete every week. I mean, like, he's my pseudo manager. He just calls himself my spiritual advisor, but like, that's one of my best buds in the world. So I had that connection, and then Chris Bagley, who made three of our music videos, made the documentary about Wesley Willis. I have a Wesley Willis painting behind me. Um, so he had that connection with Jello. Wesley Willis was on Alternative Tentacles before he passed, and Chris Bagley had sent him these music videos for a long time, and he Jello had been sent Yes, I'm a Mess when it came out, and I self-published it. But it wasn't until like a year or so after it had come out that I think he finally watched it and was like, "We want to put this on a 7-inch with Hard Out Here for a Gimp," which was an old song. And so he kind of introduced me, Wheelchair Sports Campus, to the audience, and not they were like, "Hey, careful, like our fan base can be a little mean and a little this and a little that," and everybody was hyped about it. Like, we have really fit in with their crowd, I think, even more than they expected. And Greggy and I kind of knew, like, if we do this 7-inch right and if it goes well, we can do a full length, you know. And then Jello has since become one of my other best buds, and I plan his birthday parties, and yeah, we have this really cool, unique relationship that many other people don't have with Jello because one, I didn't grow up in, you know, idolizing him, but also like uh he likes to give people a lot of shit, and I like to give people a lot of shit, and so like not many people give Jello shit, but I do. And so we have this really funny back and forth relationship, and he yeah, I just feel so lucky. Like he really respects us and really like sees what we're doing and really like believes in us in a way that I'm forever grateful for, and I could never like ask for much else.
It's also interesting. You've already mentioned that Jello is on the record. He's on two tracks, as on "Make It Make Sense" and on "Dead." Um, and if we take Jello as one part of a musical spectrum, then one of the other guests on the record couldn't be much further away from Jello because it's Kimya Dawson,
Yeah.
who many people might remember from the Kill Rock Stars label and all of that. Again, question: how does that happen? I mean, like,
Yeah, I've been friends with Kimia for a while now, and Kimia Dawson actually we made a song together in like the lockdown pandemic
hmm?
where she we played a show together in her hometown, and she asked to take one of my lines from Hard Out Here for a Gimp, if there's a stairway to heaven, how the hell we gonna get in? And she kind of recycled that into her own song that I was part of. And yeah, I would love to still like make like this song was easy because it's me playing on a ukulele, and it's very like I think in her kind of, you know, simple, raw
Folksy.
spirit. And so I just had asked her like, will you jump on this with me? And it just so happened that she had the time, and yeah, if another really big honor to have her, and I'm such a fan of her, and um yeah, it's so cool that she's on this record.
Yeah, it's a very very cool track because is in a way it's kind of like a palate cleanser in the middle of a record. It's
Mm.
track 9 out of 16. Um, and here the track listing is what I would like to know. Was it clear that when you did this, Bring Some Room with Kimya, that this could be like a track in the middle to bring some room to the audience, to give them some breather space? Was it clear that that would be somewhere in the middle?
No, actually, I wrote that song to a hip hop beat
Ah,
from a friend of mine, Felix Fast Forward here in Denver. And it's pretty normal for me to collect beats and then not touch them for like so long. And this was one of those that I wrote the song to this amazing beat, but he doesn't have the hard drive or the stems or like, and it was so blown out, which I kind of liked. But it was like there was something about, again, simplifying and stripping back, and he actually told me how to play the chords on my ukulele, and something about that version of it. I would still probably like to release um the version that I had intended, but there was something about it that was like surprising, different for me, and just kind of merging into this punk world and like letting go. It was like my idea of punk and the spirit of punk is that like you don't have to know how to play your instruments. You don't have to be quote unquote good, right? And so that was kind of me like, oh, if all these other dudes can play shitty guitar, well, why can't I play shitty guitar? And look, this ukulele is like a guitar for little people. And so, it was kind of like us starting to play into that. Maybe I can just be silly, and maybe I don't have to like flex on all these hoes all the whole show. It does provide, as you mentioned, I love all the things you're catching from the record, but it's like, yeah, it does actually bring room, which I did not intend.
Um, you have already mentioned the simplification thing, the let's make things a little simpler. Um, if I understood correctly, the tracks that there are some tracks on the record that are very old. You've just mentioned some of them are from the COVID era or pandemic period. Um, I guess that you have a lot of tracks that you've recorded, that you come up with, that you had an idea about. How then did you choose those 16 tracks interludes? I mean, like let me just count. It's one, two, three, four. So 11 tracks and five interludes. How did you choose those 11 tracks?
Hmm. You know, I'm not like your prolific writer where I have a ton of like songs laying around. I think most of these songs were songs that I was tirelessly working on or thinking
Mhm,
about.
mhm,
And the goal was like getting them to the finish line, and getting them to the finish line kind of made that kind of created them to what they are. We actually, and this happened on the last record, No Big Deal, where we needed to finish the record and we needed like the last song. And on the last record, I'm kind of doing this stream of consciousness, like thinking about the end of the album, thinking about it being our debut album. And I just realized I looked in my notebook of like raps and I was like, whoa, I did kind of the same thing on this album where we needed like one more to kind of bring it all together.
mhm.
And we did no stopping, no standing, and I'm kind of doing that. I'm kind of like stream of consciousness thinking about this album and what it means to release it and what happened since the last album. So honestly, all these songs had been like prioritized. I had already kind of scrapped the stuff that wasn't working. I knew these songs had to live on an album. And like, yes, I'm a mess and denim, I released them on my own as singles, but I still felt like they were worth living on an album. And
Mm,
because everything was so all over the place and such a collage of sound, which Greggy
mhm.
kind of realized, my mother, Mama Kay, brought it all together. Like her absurdness in between was a way that we could take all these different sounds and still make it the same story.
Interesting that you mentioned that while you were talking. I immediately thought about Mama Kay as an end to one part of a record, and of course, giving us a little skit to have a little laugh. I'm not going to say which one of them I like most, but there are some hilarious things on there. And that also reminded me a little bit about a little bit of Eminem and his skits on the first few records. For example, about the Paul Berman, like, do you know why Dre sold so many records? Because he's rapping about blondes, bimbos, and bitches. And you? Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, yeah. So I thought that was a very, very cool thing. And of course, it gives you the ability to combine a lot of different things. Um, you have spoken about the imperfection, and you being a perfectionist. How difficult was it to let go of something?
It's it's still difficult. I can tell you on the record that we just released Make It Make Sense in a music video for, and I was this close. Greggy and I were back to butting heads because I wanted a little bit more time with with the video, and I was making these freaking puppets, and we had just got back from Oakland and all these things were happening that, you know, we had hardly any time to edit it. And it's not there were there were times where I felt like it's not good enough. And if it were up to me, I would have released it the week later. And Greg was like, don't start perfecting it. It's going to be late. We said it was going to be out on this day. And I did. I let it go. There are still things that I'm going to look at forever and be like, oh, if only. But
If I
people like
hadn't
it,
listened to him.
and it was like the older we get and the better communication styles we have with each other, like Greggy is right so much more often than I would like to admit. It drives me flipping nuts. But we're in a place now where we can acknowledge when each other is right. And we do make a really good team because I'm the details and he's the big stroke, big ideas, and
The bigger
I'm
picture.
yeah. So it's still very, very difficult, and there are plenty of ways that I could have taken longer, and I'm so grateful that we're letting it go.
I have a few more questions before we come to the quick fire round at the end. Um, you, I hope I get it straight in my head. You identify yourself as a queer woman and everything like that. But let me ask you this. I hope I understand it correctly. Your own queerness is not the only key to understand wheelchair sports camp.
Yeah, I would agree. You know,
Cool. Because, and that leads me to where I was actually heading. Would you agree? And that is something that I noticed when listening to your stuff. Um, this band, this outfit, although on a surface level it might seem like, okay, this is, I get this, I understand this. There are many multiple layers that you need to peel away to understand your band. And I think in all of its complexities and notions, it will be very hard put to understand it at all.
is there what is there a question in there, or is that
Yeah, sorry, I was ranting. Sorry.
no? It's okay. I
No.
agree.
Would you say that there is much more below the tip of the iceberg that we see when we see and listen to wheelchair sports camp?
Yeah, absolutely. And the amount of time I spend and effort I spend to make this shit what it is when it's delivered to the public,
Mhm.
it's a lot. It didn't come overnight, and I think Greg is really good at I I kind of sometimes shy away from like it's easier for me, especially as a rapper.
Mhm.
It's always been easier for me to talk about other causes, right? And I became radicalized around 9/11 in high school, and it was like, I then all of a sudden my punchlines weren't just about making fun of myself and the 8 Mile Eminem, right? Like if I'm gonna clown on myself, then what do people have to make fun of?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then I
If I
had more
make the best jokes about me, what will they have? Yeah.
exactly. And then it evolved to like, oh, this political consciousness that like I was so infuriated around the idea of American imperialism and wars and all this shit, and no one else cared. So I was like rapping about it as a way to express my frustration. But Greg has often reminded me that like what I say about myself and my own life ends up being the most meaningful, and that's obviously it's always like more vulnerable to kind of go inwards and really just like it feels selfish and self-centered and all this stuff where I'm like, why do my feelings about girls matter? And it's like, or why do my feelings about my own death matter? And then it's like, oh, those are the songs that end up people gravitating towards the most. And so I think he's really good, and he's a drummer, so he's good at being in the background, but also he's such a like front man in a lot of ways, like in the business aspects of the band and the presentation, and he's been really good at like, this is about you, you know, and the more we can make this a day in your life, and with, you know, Mama K in the midst of all of it. And I have my a picture of a recent x-ray of my arm that's falling apart, and it's like he's been really good at reminding me that like it's still about you, you know, and you're the one that's interesting, and all these other causes are important, but let's focus on yours, you know, and that's been helpful for me because I'm like, but what about this and what about that? And he's like, well, what about you, you know? And like Hard Out Here for a Gimp, which is a popular song of ours, he would make me do it a cappella, and he like is supposed to drum with me, and I'm doing it, and I'm just waiting for him to drop in, and he won't do it. And I'm like, God damn it, Greg, like, join me. And it's like those moments of relief, right, where it's just me talking, they do hit well, even though it's scary for me. And like, I'd rather play with the big band and, you know, kind of not hear me. And
Hide,
that's what's that?
hide.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been a real push to like, this is you. Put, you know, put yourself out there.
So when he's the motivator of a motivator.
Yeah. He's the pusher. He's definitely a pusher.
Then I hope you don't mind me asking, but how did you feel when Sage Francis, probably one of the most well-known rappers of the 21st century, when he all of a sudden spoke very, very highly of you? And I'm just looking to find the quote, what he said, because I thought it was really, really interesting. Because in his very, 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 very eloquent way, he just said, so damn good.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you when you get praised by somebody like Sage?
Yeah, I feel so grateful, you know, and you know, he's another one of those that I kind of missed that indie rap. I was pretty into like mainstream rap, and so I kind of missed that era, and I knew about him. I knew Sea Lion. I knew his significance. I've always respected it. Um, but I wasn't like, I didn't have the tattoos like so many people have. And so being welcomed into the Strange Famous family, it was another one of those like real honors, and like really felt great to be kind of taken under the wing of somebody who made a life doing shit independently and for himself on his own terms. Um, but it was also, yeah, fun and interesting because like I wasn't like the girls that come to his merch booth like, oh my God, St. Francis, you know, and
Yeah, but that is
I think
mostly
it
the thing
allows,
that people like him like. Like
and
if
it
somebody's normal.
allows me to have this different relationship with
Yeah.
these figures.
The last thing that I want to talk about before we quickfire round is, and I hope you don't mind me, but for somebody who does not like the limelight, who would like to hide behind a big band, Why the hell did you choose to partake in the Denver mayor election 7 years ago?
You could blame Greggy for a lot of that. I'm telling you what, that motherfucker. Yeah, it was like there was a conversation. We were on tour. We were in Albuquerque. We have like a sister camaraderie of experimental noise, cool performance art friends in Albuquerque, and we stayed at a friend's house who last time I saw her perform, she had a panic attack on stage. And after partying with her and staying at her house, I started realizing, wait, was that part of the show? And Greg and I are pranksters, like I love pranking. And I love the idea of like, is this happening? Is this not? Andy Kaufman, like
Yeah.
what the hell is going on here? And so on the drive home from this tour, which is about an 8 to 10 hour drive, this seed was planted to Kalyn, you should run for mayor. Kalyn says, absolutely not. I can't run for anything. I'm never gonna run.
Yeah, I'm sitting in for you.
The boys are like, that's the slogan. You can do it. You're already doing it. And I was saying then, no, I gotta finish this album. And they're like, we'll do everything, Kalyn. You just come in and say it's good enough and we'll do everything. We'll take care of everything. And I knew better. I knew what a job it would be, and I also knew how much I care. And back to my perfectionism, I wouldn't be able to half-ass it. So what I did agree to and could see myself doing was an April Fool's Day joke. So I announced my candidacy on April Fool's Day. Everybody was like, oh my God, is this happening? Is it not? What I didn't know is that I only had a few days to file for my candidacy because I announced to the public and because I'm a press whore. I had only a few days to make this real or not. And the joke got the best of me. And, because I'm involved with so much politics, not just like on a mainstream level, like politicians, right? Like the politics of life of, living on accessible transit, living on disability, like being a person of the people, and like being connected to a lot of organizations and protest groups and mutual aid efforts, all this blah, blah, blah. So I was already connected in a way. I knew how to make a logo. I knew how to make a website because we're DIY. We knew how to do all these things that people spend a lot of money to make happen. And then I put a mustache on my face and I entered every debate that they allowed me to. And sadly, I think I was more qualified and more trustworthy than everybody I campaigned against. And it just affirmed my beliefs of politics. And like, I think the system here is operating exactly the way it's supposed to. It's not a broken system. It's a very well functioning system. And I really infiltrated it, and I really raised a lot of things around specifically that homeless crisis here in Denver and the lack of housing. And that was like and transportation, that was a big part of my campaign. So really the joke got the best of me and I campaigned for a year and a month and the album did not come out until now. So it was just another one of those big art projects that I couldn't just half-ass. We gave it our all. And I think we really did the damn thing.
And at the same time, there were probably moments where you were really fucking angry about joining because I know that surrounding that there is this guy who basically says like, "Oh, she's every HR manager's dream."
Oh yeah.
Uh, how did you feel at that moment when somebody said like, "Okay, she's a dream hire. She's gay, female.
Yeah.
What was it? Gay, female. There were some in a
Able.
wheelchair, little person. Blah 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 blah." How did that make you feel? Angry, first of all, I guess.
Yeah, but sadly what made me more angry is that got more attention than my campaign, right? And like
Hmm.
the controversy of that, which is wrong. It's foul. It's like, but to me, who's somebody who's lived in my body,
For all your
that
life.
that's not shocking, right? That
No,
I
no,
wasn't as shocked and as
no.
appalled as everybody else around me, because that's my life and that's been my life. What I wanted to focus on
Yeah.
was these initiatives that were going to give our homeless friends human rights back because we stripped it. And so I was grateful, and I'm kind of in the middle of another political storm here in Denver, and
Running
I'm
for president.
never. They're just dragging me into politics, but it's like I'm grateful that my city like sticks up for me
Yeah.
and fights for me in these times where I don't really have it in me. Like again, like my fight was like for the homeless folks and for
Mhm.
transportation. And so, right now I'm in this controversy that's getting more attention than our album release show. And it's frustrating. It's like, I'm grateful that there's attention and I'm grateful that people are listening to me. I'm on a city bus right now and I just found out about it. And I'm being pimped and being exploited for my likeness. I was never told, I was never asked. Everybody in this town knows who the fuck I am. And it comes at a time that I find out I'm on this bus that I've been on for almost a year now, and they're cutting services. And so it's like, you want to use me.
You want to use me, or you don't want to use, or you don't want to support my cause.
Exactly. And everybody's pissed. The news called me. I've been doing like all these interviews, and I was so grateful to do this one because I'm like, this is the interview that I want to do. I
Then
don't want.
let's not talk about politics anymore.
Let's end it there.
Yes. Yeah, because let's be honest. I mean, like that is again that is one part of you, but I think "Oh Imperfecta" deserves more attention. And I have one last one, and that is the cover.
Mm.
The cover looks like an X-ray or part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you? Is that your X-ray?
The X-ray in the insert is me.
Ah, okay.
The cover was done by the legendary Winston Smith, who did all the Dead Kennedy records, the DK logo, the Alternative Tentacles logo. He is so legendary, and he is the collage artist of our time. And it was such a cool, yeah, because this album is such a collage of sounds. What is a little bit more me, so that cover was one that he had already made, and it was like, oh, this fits because the hand is an X-ray and there's an eyeball. What I did tweak is I made the eyeball tinted my color eyes because how they knew I had my disability when I was diagnosed, because I was born regular to regular parents, and as I mentioned, pretty like
As
wild.
regular as Mama K.
Yeah, and they had told Carrie, uh, "Did you beat your child because she has all these broken bones?" And my mother responded by beating the social worker and had her up against the wall by her neck. saying like, "You're not gonna take my kid, I'll fucking kill you," which didn't help her case. And it wasn't until a doctor came in and saw my eyes, and the whites of my eyes have a blue tint. I have blue sclera, which is common for my disability. So I did tint the eyeballs to have a blue sclera, which is significant to my disability. And then the insert has an actual x-ray of my fallen apart arm. And there's a baby picture of me and a full body cast. So yeah, it was so timely. It was so perfect when he presented that. You know, I had already said, maybe make something like this or like that. And then he's like, I have this. And I was like, oh, it's perfect.
Is Wheelchair Sports Camp now a punk band or a hip hop band?
That's a good question.
I know. That's the last one before the quickfire round.
I think we're punk now. However, you can't take the rapper out of me. I've been, you know what I mean?
You
Like,
can take the boy out of a ghetto, but yeah.
it's
I know what you
just
mean.
yeah, and something about me rapping to punk. I have to be less wordy because it's so fast that I have to be more direct. And something about that is translating really well. People, it's picking up in the ways that I would hope. So I think we're a little bit of both.
Yeah, you definitely are. Just like the Hearse Collective, just like the Armed. I mean, like, yeah, definitely.
The shirt says I'm punk now, though.
Cool. So, Kalyn, first of all, thanks for all the insight into the record.
Thank you. What a fucking thanks for digging in.
We aren't done yet, so I'll give you some quick fire questions. And I thought, I mean, like, I wanted to end with this: Are we punk or are we hip hop? Because you will only get questions about hip hop, nothing else.
Okay. Good. That's all.
And I'll sometimes give you bands, songs, whatever. You'll pick it up. So I would like, because you are a political person, you are a person with a good consciousness and everything like that. So I'll give you two famous socially conscious rappers: KRS-One versus Common.
Oh God, that's hard.
Yeah, I never said it would be easy.
They both drive me nuts nowadays. I'm gonna have to go KRS-One.
Yeah.
I can't stand Common these days.
I hope that you are one of the few people that I have ever met who knows what KRS stands for.
I do, but I it's not coming to me.
Knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everything.
Yeah, no, I knew the knowledge.
You will see the link between the next two projects because it's one of my all-time favorite rappers. I still to this day say that there has never been a rapper with a better flow than the one who was in Gangstar and in Jazzmatazz.
Guru.
Yeah. So which one would you choose, Gangstar or Jazzmatazz?
I gotta go Gangstar.
Yeah.
It's too classic.
Yeah. And even on records that not a lot of people appreciate, there are like Moment of Truth. Nobody likes Moment of Truth. And I still say, like, the title track is the best thing they ever put out.
Absolutely.
I even taught my daughter that, and my wife was pissed.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I've covered it before.
Ooh, I didn't know that. I have to find that. You have been talking about female empowerment in the hip hop and R&B scene in the 90s. So I'll give you two bands that collaborated on a certain track. So I'll give you Salt and Pepper versus Unvogue.
Oh, why you gotta do it to me like that? Pitting us against each other. It's gotta be.
No.
Sadly,
Yeah,
I mean, I would say Salt and Pepper for my hip hop heart. I did open for Salt and Pepper too.
Ooh, I'm hitting a lot of spots here, ain't I?
However, In Vogue was one of those bands that my mom loved, and so did I.
Yeah.
They're both of my parents separately are more like rockers and deadheads, and like was part of me loving hip hop.
Like Grateful Deadheads?
Yes.
Okay.
Hence the drugs, it all comes back to the drugs. But yeah, something about me loving hip hop and being an only child. What I loved is that my parents didn't love it and that it was mine and not theirs. But In Vogue was that crossover where like Funky Divas was an album that my mother still to this day. And so In Vogue is part of my upbringing. Mm-hmm. Salt and Pepper was who I had to beg and con and scam my parents to get me Very Necessary when I was only 6 years old.
You've mentioned your love for Left Eye and for TLC, so I'll give you probably their two most famous songs. Which one would you rather listen to right after this interview? No Scrubs or Waterfalls?
Waterfalls.
Mm-hmm. Also one heck of a video.
Left Eye doesn't have a verse on the regular No Scrubs. She didn't have a verse until the remix, which is controversial in my opinion.
You've mentioned Outkast, so I'll give you two of our records to choose between. Aliens or Stankonia?
It's Aliens, even though Stankonia I was hip to in its current form. Like Aliens I learned about because of Stankonia.
Later, yeah. The same for me. They were not a huge thing over here in Europe until Stankonia came along. And then
Aliens is one of the best hip hop records of all time.
Yeah. But one also
Stankonia's up there too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm up to what is it? Speaker Box, Love Below. Up to that, there is not a bad record in that discography.
And they should have won a Grammy for Aliens and Stankonia.
Yeah.
And they had to cross over into pop to get the Grammy. So
which is strange, right? But I know what you mean.
That's maybe why Andre 3000 stopped rapping.
I'm very sure. I'm very sure it was. I have two more. No, three more actually. Sorry. I'll give you two hip hop rap collectives battling each other for your love. Wu-Tang Clan versus Odd Future. Wolfgang Kill Them All.
Ooh. Neither of them were super on my radar.
Mm-hmm.
I was a Far Side kid, so
yeah.
I think, when Odd Future came out, I was taking my little cousins to go see them. Mm-hmm. Odd Future to them represents what Eminem was to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was so angsty. It was so fuck everything that as a 30-year-old, I couldn't really love it. Mm-hmm. But I could see why so many young people loved it. Mm-hmm. And when I took her to see my little cousin to see Earl Sweatshirt, Tyler came on by surprise. And he had this one line that was like, "I'm a fucking theater kid." And that's when it all clicked. Mm-hmm. Because I wasn't really into it until I heard that line live. And I have since followed Tyler. And I think he's amazing.
Yeah. In this one, I have to say we agree to disagree but that's also the age difference. I still remember when 36 Chambers came out, and it was one of the first rap records that I was really into.
It's a great album, and that shit, There's no question. It's
Yeah,
Wu-Tang,
yeah,
and I was a huge Method Man fan, and of course the Wu-Tang hits I was a huge fan of, and the production and the lo-fi. Yeah, there's
yeah.
it's definitely Wu-Tang. I'm just saying neither of them were my
Yeah, I can understand that. That is really something where we see that, like liking certain hip hop records also has to do with a certain point when they hit you.
It's true.
You
If
know?
you were to say Tribe Called Quest and Farside, I would say Farside.
But I didn't. I'll give you the two ends of maybe the biggest rappers beef of the 2010s and
Okay.
2020s. I'll give you Drake versus Kendrick.
Kendrick all day.
Yeah, I knew you would say
That's
that.
not a question. I mean, Drake's
Yeah.
not a rapper. He's a
Yeah,
pop.
Drake's just a meme.
He's a part. Yeah, exactly. That was the dumbest thing he could have ever done. And he's done a lot of dumb things and is still very successful. And I
Yeah.
will say that if you're reading this, it's too late is a killer album. And I hated that I started loving that album. Like I
Yeah.
never wanted to like Drake.
Yeah.
And his production just started getting better, and I was in Haiti for too long, and I heard
Okay.
this song, and I was like, this is fire. Who is this? And they're like, Drake. And I was
And you're
like,
like, fuck.
no, 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 no. And then I did fall into the Kool-Aid on that record, but ever since, that's about it.
And the last one is my last question is basically a reprise of the last regular question. And I think I already know your answer, but which version of the Beastie Boys do you prefer? The punks or the rappers?
I'm the rapper. Greggy is the punks. But I did get to see them do a live set, their instrumental set,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing both was legendary. So
So
I'm
do you think
rapper
Greg would say the
punk.
punksters?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that also says a lot about wheelchair sports camp, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you for all the things that you had to say. For everybody, the record has been out since May 15th, out on Alternative Tentacles, and you should give it a spin. You should also read the lyrics, and not just because you should always do that, but I think with this record in particular. Kalyn, thanks for your time. Your chance for final last words.
Yeah, just thank you so much for digging in. This has been like such a cool interview, and it's so cool for people to like get it. And you caught things that I didn't even mean. Like I have to go back and find this Eminem Nirvana shit. Like
Yeah.
that's so cool. Thank you for digging in, and thanks for all your meaningful questions, and yeah, this has been awesome. Thanks.
Thanks for your time.